Breaker, breaker. Feeling a little lonely out here. They're really important to me.
Anyway. Film is a really powerful art form because of the way that it allows the viewer to enter into someone else's experience.
Now I'm putting you each in charge of one of these creatures. Consider it an exercise in accountability. Take it from me. This world is a harsh place.
The more eyes you watch the world through,
some people can cope with it.
The bigger your own world gets.
I can't. My hate and anger grow to a level that I can't live comfortably with it. When that happens, I have to act on it.
Empathy is really the thing that's going to save the world.
Richard, did you act on it in the motel in 1978?
What do you do with your hate and anger?
In the music world, musician M. Ward, I was exposed to him through the radio station KEXP in Seattle, and just like listened to his album Transfiguration of Vincent on repeat. I actually wrote a lot of the off hours listening to that album, and I used a song Involuntary from it to create this teaser, this sort of fundraising video that ultimately, I don't think you can see it anywhere, but it was just a real inspiring sort of tone that song set that I wanted the film to have as well. And then ultimately, in Lucky Them, I was able to license a song for real and put it in the film. It's a song called Hi-Fi, which is about listening to music and what the power of music has on people. And so it fit really well with the themes of that movie. In terms of filmmakers who are inspiring to me, a lot of female filmmakers, Lynn Ramsey, Andrea Arnold, Lynn Shelton, who's a good friend of mine, Nicole Holofcener, people who I've been able to sort of watch how they navigate this business and see where they succeed and fail, and it's just inspiring to see other women succeed in this business because it's been so male dominated for so long. And then in terms of just other filmmakers, I love what Steven Soderbergh's done with his career, like how he vacillates between these giant studio projects and these tiny, intimate projects. I feel like he always has his passion for filmmaking that's kind of continued. It hasn't dampened by just kind of giving himself over completely to things that he's doing for money. And so I just think, and even the big projects that he does, I feel like have his personality in them. So that's inspiring to watch because, of course, you want to go on to, have a sustainable career in this business. You can't just be holed up and cling to, every ideal and have all the control in every situation. So it's great to be able to watch people navigate the bigger industry and retain their integrity. When I was in high school, my sister recommended that I rent The Graduate. She knew I was interested in, I was a big film watcher. I loved watching films. I'd have movie parties all the time and invite my friends over. And so this one night we watched The Graduate, and I was really kind of taken aback and intrigued by all the transitions because the filmmaking in that movie is very sort of out there in front of you and showy, and it just kind of jolted me into this understanding of the fact that there was a person behind all those decisions, and that was a job that I was intrigued by, and so that kind of started me into that, just barely kind of wondering, and then it's changed the way I watched movies from then forward because I realized every movie had that person behind the scenes making those decisions, and that sometimes that that there was a reason for it, there was a language to it, and I just I had this interest in it that just grew and grew, and it was the thing in my life that felt like it excited me the most out of everything I'd learned or studied in school. Like that really caught my imagination, and it made me want to know more and more. So there was never a film class that I took that I wasn't like, the front of the room, taking all the notes. I was the most engaged that I'd ever been as a student. And then in life, I still, like, it still keeps me inspired and excited, all these years later, 20 years after I graduated college. I think I make films because I'm interested in understanding choices that I wouldn't necessarily make myself. I'm really drawn to stories that talk about people who are who've made life choices that are that I would consider strange or wrong, or just to kind of put myself in that headspace and see if I can understand the world a little bit better. Recently, I made a film about a serial killer, and that was like sort of the pinnacle of that, that quest, is to look at the mind of this person who scared me as a child and whose actions felt completely foreign and incomprehensible, and to try to get to the root of where those choices came from. That's, I think, a really good way to sort of understand the world around you. I make films for anyone who's interested in sort of getting into the mind of someone who thinks differently than they do and has had a different life experience, in hopes of sort of widening their own life experience. I think the most critical thing for any filmmaker to understand is their own point of view and what they bring to the table. You're in a lot of situations as a filmmaker where you're convincing someone to trust you, either with financing. An actor has to trust you in order to give themselves over on a performance level. The crew has to trust you. You have to, and that at the center of that trust is usually their faith that you have something to say and a perspective to tell the story with. I feel like at one point I was asked a question when I was doing interviews for the off hours, that somebody said, "Why are you the person to tell this story? And why was it important for you to tell this story?" And it just, in that moment, came out of me that I feel like I have a sort of a deep empathy that I think I got from my mom, who was a social worker and looked at a lot of people's lives that were really damaged and challenging, and tried to find, some understanding of where those people were coming from and look at people without judgment. And so I try to apply that to the films that I make and the characters that are in them. And so that's really what I consider my point of view as a filmmaker. And I apply it to, I think it kind of translates to a lot of different genres and a lot of different types of characters. But I'm just really grounded in that goal. I went to film school, and even before because I got my master's in film and I was in undergrad before that. And I was exposed to a lot of really amazing films in that period, things that I think were programmed on campuses because they were trying to get them into the minds of younger people and in a sort of younger generation. And I think it's really, I think films are such a powerful tool to expand people's minds and to expand their worlds, especially if you're from a small town. I grew up in a really small town, and it can really, it does nothing but benefit you to understand more people from more parts of the world, and I think films can really do that. And so having a cinema on campus and a program that, some sort of curation that's bringing the world to you as a student is just only going to supplement the education that you're getting and expand it.